Part 1, Magna Carta 1215. My point of embarkation is Magna Carta. Everyone has heard of this, the Great Charter. Some have set eyes on one or more of the three surviving originals in the British Library or Library on Lincoln. It is very hard to decipher. It is in Latin, and even in translation, much of it is very obscure and difficult to understand. But even in translation, the terms of chapters 39 and 40 have the power to make the boat race. These are words which should be inscribed on stationery of the Ministry of Justice and the Home Office in place of the later favorite slogan which their letters now carry. Magna Carta was annulled by the Pope within a few months on the ground that it had been exiled from King John by Darius, and it has given rise to much bad history. It was not at that stage a statue, since there was nothing reconcilable as a parliament. It did not embody the principles of judicial, which, which was still in infancy, or habeas corpus, which in its modern form had yet to be invited. The language of chapter 39 has been cited as vague and unsatisfactory, and it was been said that chapter 40 has had much read into it that would have astonished its farmers. It would moreover be a travesty of history to regard the barons who converted King John at Runnymede as altruistic liberals seeking to make the world a better place. But for all that, the selling of Magna Carta was an event that changed the constitutional landscape in this country and over time the world. There were four main reasons for this. First, and in contrast with other European charters of the period, including the Golden Ball of Hungary of 1222, it was granted to all free men throughout the realms. Of course, not all men or women at the time were free, but to an exceptional degree, it's assumed a legal priority among all free men, thus contributing to a sense of community which may perhaps help to explain Britannia's happy freedom from bloody revolution, since its civil was 315 50 15 350 years ago. Secondly, and contrary to the impression given by some elementary history books, the charter was not an instant response to the opposition and exactions of a tyrannous king. It is true that during the reign of King John, the country did experience that later came to be called the smack of him government. It is also true that his domestic difficulties were exacerbated by his dispute with the church and his military failures, but the roots of Magna Carta went much deeper. It drew heavily on Carlier's models, not less King Henry I, Charter of Liberties, and the coronation oaths of previous king. The Charter of Henry I, issued on his accession to the throne in 1100 as a sort of non-election manifesto, promised relief from the evil custom and oppressive taxation of the previous reign, but also forbade the imposition of excessive penalties and required the penalties should fit the crime, reflecting the nature of the offense. The coronation oaths include a promise to exercise justice and mercy in all judgment, and oath still with minor modification, prescribed by Section 3 of the Coronation Oath Act 1600. The coronation oath include a promise to exercise justice and mercy in all judgment. An oath still with minor modification prescribed by Section 3 of the Coronation Oath Act 1688 and sworn by Queen Elizabeth II in 1953. Leading authorities are agreed.